Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. And so in this video I'm going to show you the game that I played in chess.com, and here I'm playing black. So this is the second game that I'm showing. This is the second chess game that I've recorded and I'm sharing with you. So my opponent opens with his king pawn. I respond with my king pawn, and then the game basically continues in the usual way. We open up with our knights. Okay, so the bishop comes down at the center, attacking my white square, which is f7. F7 is my weak white square, and which I need to protect. So I take out my pawn towards the left side. So what I do is basically I do not want to allow his knight to come to g5. So by that I protect it, and I do not allow the knight to come to g5. So what he does castling. Now I take out my knight as well. So I do have the two knights in my defense right now, both of my knights out and activated. He comes forward in the center with his pawn, attacking my pawn, and I further support my pawn with my pawn by moving it from d7 to d6. So so he doesn't eat my pawn in e5, because I can again eat it back, and whatever the reason, but he basically doesn't want to create an open channel, uh, at D. He doesn't want that, so he blocks this passage, and his pawn is now attacking my knight. I have to do something to my knight to stop it. So I move back. Then he comes forward with his knight. Again, I move my pawn towards the right side. So my idea is again not to allow his knight to come down at b5, either his knight or his bishop, because if his bishop comes at b5 it will give check to me, so I do not want that it should give me check. So basically that is the idea behind my moving my pawn on a6. Okay, so now he's creating some space for his rook, and my idea here is to attack from the left side. So I move the pawn from g7 to g5, going more towards his king side, but he doesn't seem to care. He is attacking from his left side, and I am attacking from my left side. Now I move my pawn even further up, attacking his knight. Now I think he should do something about his knight, because my pawn is being protected by my knight. So he moves back as expected, and I move my pawn at the left side further up, supporting my pawn in the g file, and I am building some momentum towards the left side, as you can see, with the two pawns, one behind the other, side by side. Also the rook and the knight, all supporting these pawns. So it's quite an attack going forward in the left direction. So here he is in a bit of bother. He now thinks how to handle the left side attack that I am going forward with. But he thinks that he should create his own attack towards his left side. So he moves his pawn forward, but here I am not much bothered about his attack because I know that I have got sufficient backup towards my right side, so I concentrate on my own attack at my left side. So I move my pawn forward, and at this point in time it looks pretty threatening, and here again he takes a lot of time, he thinks about it and then comes up with this move. And then I was thinking how to even further uh, attack it in a more potent manner. So I move my pawn, and I'm not sure, I'll check it later on whether this move was the right move. This move that I gave in my H file, whether this is the correct move. But I thought that immediately after giving this move, I thought that he might move his pawn in his g2 square forward, thereby blocking these two files at the left side, and somehow my attack will become redundant now. And that is what he does, and I don't have any way to pose further threat on the left side. It's kind of my game is like shut in the left side. So what do I do now? I have to shift my focus from the left to the right now. So I move my pawn from c7 to c6. The idea here is to attack his pawn, both the pawns, his d5 pawn and his b5 pawn, both the pawns, so that I can create some space towards the right side, because now I am focusing on the right side of the chessboard. So he immediately eats my pawn, I eat his pawn back, and I'm pretty comfortable now because I know that my knight is protecting this pawn. So he comes with his bishop, and I further move forward with my pawn, and my pawn I take it to c5. Here it goes, basically nullifying the attack that he's carrying forward with his bishop. So I make his bishop redundant here, and both his bishops now cannot do anything. He cannot eat the pawn on my a6 square because my bishop at c8 is protecting it. So what it does is this: he moves his pawn forward, attacking my pawn at g4, and I move my bishop. Basically, I move my bishop from f8 to f6. The reason being, my bishop basically is doing nothing at f8 square. So f6, at least it will do some work. I do not want my pieces to lie idle and not do any work, so I have to give them task to do. That was my idea. So once it is in this diagonal, so it is exerting some influence in this diagonal, at least it is doing something. Let's see how he responds. Okay, so he brings his bishop so that he can counter my bishop, and I do not understand why he gave that move. Basically it doesn't mean much, at least to me, I'm not sure. So I bring my bishop forward to e3. Here I have given check to the king, and I have put the bishop in a better place. He moves his queen to his right, and h1, obviously to get rid of the check. That is okay, but now I have to keep my bishop somewhere here, so I move it little bit back, and here I'm exerting pressure on the knight he has on his c3. What he does, he moves his bishop back to b2 to counter my bishop, and then I move my rook to counter his bishop that he has given. So it is basically a cat and mouse game going on right now. Again he moves his knight to a place where I cannot eat his knight, because if I eat his knight with my rook in the square b3, his pawn will eat me. So that is a good defense he has already. And so what do I do here? I put my rook in a place where I can eat his bishop in c4 square. So let's see how he defends it. I think he will move his queen right now. Yeah, he moves his queen so that I cannot eat his bishop. And then I, at this point in time, I realized that at the left side I have to do something, because it's been all right side, but now I have to again focus on the left side. So, and I have a good opportunity. He has not been eating my pawn. Now I have to eat his pawn in the square f3. So I eat it. What it does, it also exerts some pressure on the queen, but I know his rook is there, so there is not much of a, and it's not and I do not have a backup for my pawn at f3. So I basically let go of the pawn. He eats it with his rook, and here I move my knight to g4. It's a better place for me. The reason being, it is not under any immediate threat, and I can move it if required. If I can move it towards f2 if I want. So that f2 square, black square, is will be attacked both by the bishop as well as by the knight. So that is a strategically better position, I felt. In response, here he eats my bishop. This one, he eats my bishop. I don't know why he ate my bishop. Maybe he is running out of options now, because my pawns are there guarding the bishop. So I not only eat his knight, but also now I am exerting pressure on his other knight. So he has to basically move it from there. What he does is this. Now he is aiming at my rook. I have to do something. Nobody is protecting it, or even if it protects, it doesn't matter. I have to move the rook, because rook is more powerful than bishop. So I move it back, and still his knight is under threat. My pawn is aiming at it. What will he do? Let's see. He moves the, as expected, he moves the knight back. And what do I do? I can bring the knight. Okay, no, I thought I will bring the what I did. Yeah, I actually saw this opportunity of eating this pawn hanging over there. This pawn was hanging at square a5, so I eat his pawn with my queen. And not only that, and this allows me to pin his bishop, because he cannot move his bishop, which is at a3. If he moves, I will eat his rook, so he cannot move. And it is also a good position. I can attack his side from here. There's a lot of opportunity for me to attack, so this is a pretty good position. That's why I ate his pawn with my queen, and there is no immediate threat on my queen as well. So let's see how he responds. Here he does a mistake finally. When he moves his rook here, let me tell you, that time immediately I didn't see the opportunity. But then I realized that he resigned already, and I was wondering why did he resign, and immediately I came to know that my knight will be able to eat his rook. Once my knight eats his rook, it's all advantage, my advantage, and I will be in a pretty good position. So he resigned from here, and the game ends here. I hope you liked this video, and if you have any further tips that you want to give me, or some mistakes that I have done you thought that should not have been done, or you have any comments, you can post your comments in the comment section. Like my video if you liked the video. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.